Today we'll be going over the interesting dynamic between the Itoshi brothers. I think this is an interesting connection between the two as they were very close at a young age but fell apart due to the difference in their dreams. We start off with the Itoshi brothers when they are young, and Sai is the main striker, scoring effortlessly. Rin always looked up to his brother and his ego was always there even as a little kid. You can tell they both cared for each other and always were with each other at a young age. Young Sai's goal was to become the best striker in the world, and he does not like to lose. Rin wants to one day be as great as his brother and admires him completely. In a moment as a kid, Rin jumps into the game and takes on one of Sai's passes and just turns into a completely different person. Sae is completely shocked because he had never seen Rin like that and could tell he will be great one day. It's like the ball was meant for Rin to score. He's a natural talent where scoring is simply meant for him, just like Shido. Sae tells Rin that he can become the best one after him, and Rin will make sure to do that. The brothers are a little bit older now and playing on the same team. They're both unstoppable together and everyone was starting to take notice after that. They both were having fun with each other and just winning every match, becoming the best in the world. Sae asks Rin what does he think about when he scores, and Rin says he looks for a critical spot where his brother can pass to him. He sees spots where the enemy would panic and he finds those gaps to score, and Sae takes notice to that of Rin's logic of scoring is so efficient. Sae tells Rin that no one can replace him as he's gone and wonders what Rin will do when he's gone and has always looked for his brother's passes. Sae tells his brother to come right after him and to not give up. The two of them had the dream of becoming the best in the world. Rin felt lonely seeing his brother leave, but knew that this was the best option. Rin has to stay home and become the best in Japan, then join his brother in taking over the world. After Sae leaves, Rin is playing more solo and not relying on his other teammates. Playing without his brother has left the field more cramped for him and restricting. Without his brother, Rin realizes he needs to figure out what he lacks while his brother is not there so he can keep improving and catch up to his brother. He knows his brother is working hard and he does not want to be left behind either. After practicing late, Sae comes back and talks to Rin. Rin is happy to see his brother, but his brother looks completely different now as he is not smiling and his eyes are tired. Rin even notices that he lost weight and has been keeping up with his progress in the Real Madrid youth matches. Sae tells Rin that there are better players out there than him and that the world is huge and his dream has now changed. Instead of becoming the best striker in the world, he will become the best midfielder in the world. Rin is crushed by this new dream as being the best striker was the only thing that mattered before. Sae tells him he hasn't seen the world so he does not get it. Sae tells Rin to become the best striker in the world and he will be the best midfielder. Rin does not want that and Sae is stunned by this. Rin tells him that his brother is not the same guy who he shared a dream with and Sae is heartbroken to hear that from his brother. Sae tells Rin that he still does not know that football is a constant battlefield and that if he beats him in a one-on-one, he will share that dream with him again. Sae came home telling his brother that he'll be the best midfielder and his brother will be the best striker. This shows that he had hope in his brother to be the best. However, his brother abruptly accused him of failure and was disgusted with him. And after hearing his brother scowl at him, Sae had eyes of failure, exhaustion, and regret. But true to the manga, he will not let his ego be challenged, so he challenged his brother's ego and became the villain in his story. I love Sae. He's cool. He's realistic and stayed true to his passion even when he was ridiculed for failure. Just look at how tired his eyes are. Sae did not mean to be the villain, but becoming the villain reignited the brother's story of truly becoming the best in the world. In the 1v1, it's not even close as Sae clearly evolved into a completely different person, and his skills are beyond Rin's level at that moment. Rin realizes that his brother is still far away from him. Rin's dream was to play football with his brother and become second best to him. But now that Sae had crushed his dreams, he has no reason to play football anymore. Sae then tells him to just quit then, and he will not console him or care for him, and that Japan is too used to peace, and anyone who is talented just becomes trash. He tells Rin to not use him as a reason to play football anymore. He sees Rin as nothing but an annoying brother, and that just because Rin is his brother does not mean he should be full of himself. Rin really just wanted to be by Sae's side. He starts to go through emotions of resentment and loss, as his brother has just walked out on him. He starts to question if their relationship was just a lie this whole time, and if he was just being used as a training bag. Rin in an angry emotion slams his brother's trophies to the ground. He cannot just make the feelings he had disappear, and this is a very emotional moment for Rin, as he felt his life's meaning just vanished in a night. He now vows to break his brother, and he's the one who turned his life upside down. His football is now to crush Itoshi Sae, rather than chasing to be right behind him. He now wants to destroy his brother's dream, and that's why he was playing football. Shout out to this Reddit user who had a really good backstory on the dynamic of the two. I don't think Sae is a bad person. I don't think Sae is a good person, but I think he generally does want Rin to succeed. He's taken the role of villain in Rin's life out of a feeling of necessity. He'll be the bad guy. He'll be the person who Rin hates and despises. The reason Rin will rise to the greatest height possible. He'll insult Rin, humiliate him, mock him, crush his spirit, all so that Rin can come back stronger than ever and surpass his elder brother. Itoshi Sae is the necessary evil. Now I'm going to explain reasonings why I think this is the case. And the reasoning has three main points: Rin's playstyle, pre and post flow, Sae's stated opinions and blue lock players, and finally Sae and Rin's backstory. Starting off with Rin's playstyle, Rin initially didn't really play like a true striker. I don't mean he lacked goal scoring capability, he clearly did, but in the way he played overall, Rin was a playmaker. He wasn't the kind of player to try and go for a one-on-one. In fact, in the under 20 match, when he enters the flow, it's a shock to the defenders that he can actually fight one-on-one. Rin's plays may end with him scoring, but his skills aren't in scoring themselves, but in the plays leading up to it. Compare pre-flow Rin to Shoutout. As a pure striker, judging exclusively in their ability to make a goal if given the ball, Shoutout is better. His weapon is all about scoring goals, getting the ball and then absolutely slamming it into the net with his shot. Rin just didn't play that way. He was offensive, sure, but he wouldn't be considered a striker. Not in the way characters like Shido, Baro, Kunigami, Nagi, or really most of the top tier blue lock players were. The thing with his playstyle though is that it's just Sae's. Rin's style of play before the U20 match was just an inferior version of Sae's football. He played like an offensive midfielder, making plays and destroying defenses, and it just happened to usually end with his shot on goal. During the match, Sae is constantly needling Rin with little jabs, telling him that if Rin can't cast aside being Sae's brother, he'll always be behind. Rin is so hung up on being Sae's brother that his playstyle is just a reflection of Sae. When Rin finally snaps and enters his flow, Sae remarks that he's surprised Rin can still make that face. That isn't something new that Rin is doing. Sae has seen it before. It's Rin's true style of football. When he isn't trying to copy his brother, Rin becomes a pure striker, not passing, only focusing on crushing his enemies to score a goal. Sae was guiding Rin towards that path, giving him the hint that he should stop copying Sae and become his own player. Sae was in a twisted sense coaching Rin throughout the match. Now let's talk about Sae's stated opinions on blue lock players. Sae has stated his opinion on 3 players, Rin, Shido, and Asagi. In regards to both Shido and Asagi, Sae was overall very positive, choosing Shido over all other strikers in blue lock, and at the same time saying Asagi would revolutionize Japanese football and not Rin. The interesting thing about both of these players is that Rin hates both of them. Shido is probably the player before the U20 match that Rin would have wanted absolutely gone. He hated him with a burning passion to the point where they kept trying to actually fight each other. In the under 20 match, Asagi in Rin's eyes kept upstaging him and ultimately stealing all the glory at the very end. In both of those cases, Sae knew that Rin hated both of them. Sae didn't know Shido before he entered blue lock and picked him after reviewing film of all the matches, including the 3rd selection. Sae was extremely aware of how much Rin hated Shido. He saw it with his own eyes. Now picking Shido in my opinion was the right choice. With Sae's skills, he could elevate Shido to a level far beyond what he was in blue lock, being the only player to score twice in the game and having to have the defense revolve around shutting Shido down. However, Sae could have just easily picked Rin. Rin would have been a solid pick, able to mesh better with the under 20 team and probably would have played the whole game. Not considering any relationships between the two, casting aside the brotherhood like Sae claims he did, picking Rin would have been a solid choice, arguably better than Shido. But instead, he not only picked Shido, he cast aside Rin. Rin is being showed he isn't good enough and that this person he hates with all his heart is better than him. The same thing happens at the very end of the match. Speaking completely objectively, Rin was far more dominant than Asagi. Rin being gone would be a much bigger blow to the team than Asagi. Rin's skills in almost every area are just on another level. By the end of the game, you can make an argument that Rin was the best player in the field besides Sae. Better than IQ, better than Shido, but you couldn't make that argument about Asagi. So why did Sae say that Asagi would revolutionize Japanese football? Rin is the better player, and with his awakening, he's on a different level, far more capable than Asagi. In fact, Asagi was still trying to learn from Rin during that match. I don't think Sae meant it when he said Asagi would be the revolutionary. We as the audience know he will, but I don't think Sae does. I think Sae is again needling his brother, kicking him while he's down in order to tell him that Rin needs to get stronger. Rin needs to become so good that everyone has to acknowledge that he's the best. Finally, the backstory of the Itoshi brothers. First of all, I think the thing is important to keep in mind is that for Rin's perspective of Sae to be correct, Sae was playing an emotional long con since he was like 6 or 7. That's just insane, especially since Sae seemed to do things that would contradict Rin's perspective on the events of what happened. Sae was coaching Rin, telling him to move faster and how to improve, as well as wanting Rin to join him overseas. If Sae was really just using Rin as a tool, then why would he want Rin to improve so much? Wouldn't that just hurt Sae's chances at becoming the world's best striker? It would make more sense if Sae did the opposite and actually discouraged Rin, but that isn't the case. He genuinely seems to want Rin to succeed. It's when he goes abroad, things change. When Sae comes back, he's clearly different. I don't think Sae is revealing his true colors or anything like that. I just think Sae has just been humbled and come to realize how big the world truly is. When he comes back though with his dream changed, he doesn't say it's impossible for Rin to become the world's best striker, but for Sae himself. I think Sae just realized that his skill set was better suited elsewhere. as a midfielder rather than as a striker. In a way, he's a lot like certain blue lock players, like Nico. Let's be honest, Nico's talents are more suited for defense than offense. He doesn't really seem to have much goal scoring ability on his own, but is very good at locking down enemy defenses. KiiNGKhyy is similar. He doesn't have the outright scoring power of someone like Kaiser, but he's much better at playmaking, which means he's a better midfielder than a striker. Back to Rin though, KiiNGKhyy even says Rin can continue on his dream if he wants to. KiiNGKhyy doesn't initially discourage Rin at all, and is even supportive of Rin's desire to be the world's best striker. It's when Rin doesn't accept KiiNGKhy's decision that KiiNGKhyy pushes back against him and shows the gap between them. When Rin loses because he never stood a chance, that's when KiiNGKhyy insults him and says that if Rin needs a reason other than himself to play, he should quit. Here's the thing though, KiiNGKhyy is 100% correct. If Rin never learns to play for himself, to develop his own ego, he'll never be able to become the best. KiiNGKhyy was just delivering a wake-up call to Rin that his mentality was all wrong, and that if he couldn't switch it up, he'd never reach that level. This circles back to Rin's awakening in the under 20 match. KiiNGKhyy sees Rin return to his previous style, his hyper egoistic style that wasn't just discount KiiNGKhyy, that he had developed by copying his older brother. KiiNGKhyy almost seems pleased, actively making suboptimal plays as Shido notes. KiiNGKhyy succeeded in making Rin finally switch his mentality and play for himself. Itoshi KiiNGKhyy, I think, is a tragic character. His dreams were crushed abroad, and he realized that he could never achieve his goal, forcing him to go down a different path. Seeing his younger brother, still with time to change and evolve, KiiNGKhyy tries to get him to understand KiiNGKhy's decision and tells his brother he can still become the best striker. Seeing how Rin isn't able to understand KiiNGKhy's decision and lacks the necessary mindset to succeed, KiiNGKhyy does what he feels he must and crushes his brother so he can rise stronger than before. He becomes a necessary evil in his brother's life, keeping him down until he becomes strong enough to lift himself up and becomes the world's best, cursing his brother who was just trying to help the entire time. I hope we can see more of KiiNGKhy's backstory in the future, but also the World Cup will be a huge step if the two can come together and work once again. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and what you think, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.